In the second year of our marriage, Lucas ran away with his secretary. By the time he returned, his mother had already given birth to a second and third child. Destitute and desperate, Lucas stared at his lively, bouncing siblings in the living room, dumbfounded. He glared at his mother. "How could you strip me of my status as the only child? You don't love me at all. No wonder no one looked for me in the 5 years I was gone. You already had other kids. What am I to you? A throwaway?" Watching Lucas spiral into madness, I calmly walked over and handed him a document. "You still owe me a signed divorce agreement. Sign it." Lucas collapsed to his knees, his eyes bloodshot. "I can't inherit the family business anymore, so now even you don't want me?" I laughed until tears streamed down my face. At 18, he smiled and said he must have saved the galaxy in a past life to have met me. At 23, he looked at me with impatience and asked if I could just die somewhere far away. From where I stood, he certainly wasn't as magnanimous as I was. When I heard the news of Lucas's return, I paused for a moment. On the other end of the phone, my mother-in-law spoke. "Emily, whether he comes back or not doesn't affect our partnership. The shares and properties I transferred to you remain yours. You have nothing to worry about." I responded calmly, "Understood. Thank you, godmother." I hurried home. Hearing that familiar voice, I felt a momentary sense of disorientation. "Mom, are you joking? I was only gone for 5 years and you suddenly have 2 extra kids. Is this some kind of comedy routine?" "I don't believe it. Mom, tell me the truth. You hired these little actors to put on a show, right? Just to make me regret leaving?" I entered the living room. My mother-in-law was soothing her youngest daughter, Mia. I walked up to greet her. "Godmother." Although Lucas and I hadn't divorced yet, she was technically my mother-in-law. But for the past 5 years, I had called her godmother. Lucas's siblings called me big sister. Lucas's mother always said that the 4 of us living well was more important than anything else. The 2 children, the older one, Leo, was 4, and the younger one, Mia, was 2, ran over, demanding to be held. Over the years, I had developed impressive arm strength. I scooped one up in each arm and the little ones giggled. After a couple of minutes, I set them down. They resumed running around the living room. Lucas's mother sipped her tea slowly, maintaining her elegant, detached demeanor. Since I walked in, Lucas had been ranting for a while, but she hadn't acknowledged her eldest son once. Hearing me call his mother godmother, Lucas looked at me in disbelief. "Emily, what did you just call my mom?" Before I could answer, Leo, running circles in the living room, accidentally crashed into Lucas. Leo rubbed his head, frowning. "Who are you? Why are you standing in my house?" Godmother sat nearby, drinking tea, making no move to intervene. Ignored and frustrated, Lucas roared at the child. "You're asking who I am. This is my house. You tell me who I am." Godmother called Leo over to drink some water. Lucas broke down. "Mom, what is going on? Where did these kids come from? Did you adopt them from an orphanage?" Lucas's mother finally stood up, her tone placid. "I didn't expect you to still be alive." Lucas looked stunned. "Mom, how can you say that? I'm your son. I'm back. Aren't you happy?" Leo stood protectively in front of his mother. "This is my mommy. Don't yell." "What is this adopted brat shouting about?" Lucas scoffed, then dropped to his knees. "Mom, I was immature before. I kept upsetting you and Dad. I know I was wrong. I apologize." He looked around the room. "Look at the time. Shouldn't Dad be back from the company soon? I'll go repent to him later. He always wanted me to take over the business, and I was ungrateful and refused." Lucas looked full of regret. "Mom, it's been 5 years. I realize my mistakes. I came back to inherit the family business. I promise, I won't be ungrateful anymore." Standing to the side, I couldn't help but let out a laugh. Years ago, I thought Lucas was just sheltered, which made him naive, always claiming he wanted love over money. Later, I realized he wasn't naive. He was just stupid, completely brainless. Lucas turned to glare at me unhappily. "What are you laughing at? Is what I said funny?" I raised an eyebrow. Is it not? I patted Mia's head. Do you think he's funny? Funny, Mia said. She had beautiful, blinking eyes. Even though she didn't understand the situation, she gave her honest answer. What's so funny? Emily, do I need your judgment? Lucas glared at me, standing up to confront me. His eyes held contempt. Emily, you're still in my house. After all these years, you haven't just been squatting here, have you? Have you no shame? If I were you, I'd have jumped in a river by now. I didn't argue with him. For someone as stupid as Lucas, his genes were likely flawed anyway. Thankfully, I lost that baby years ago. I shuddered to think how terrifying it would be to raise a child like him. Mom, where's Dad? Lucas asked again. Dead, Godmother said faintly. She answered frankly, without a trace of pain on her face. What? Lucas looked incredulous. Mom, how can you curse Dad like that? I looked at the self-righteous Lucas. He truly was incredibly stupid to think he still had any claim to the family business. Everyone wants the good things in life, but after 5 years, how could it possibly be his turn? Years ago, Lucas regretted our marriage the 2nd year after we got our license. His father, however, adamantly refused to let him divorce me. Lucas threw tantrums, threatening suicide to manipulate his father, but it was always all thunder and no rain. He'd find a rope and complain it was too rough and would hurt his neck. A coward like him couldn't threaten anyone. He only made people laugh. Naturally, his father ignored the threats and kept him confined at home. Things might have passed, and he might have eventually compromised. But then, Lucas's father got into a sudden car accident. Everyone in the family received the news. Lucas's mother, weeping, had Lucas released and told him to come to the hospital with us. There was no worry on Lucas's face, only a hint of excitement. He told his mother and me to go ahead, saying he would drive himself there shortly. We waited and waited at the hospital. We waited until Mr. Vance's body arrived, but we never saw Lucas. His mother fainted from grief. She had deeply loved her husband and couldn't accept his death. I knew Mr. Vance had illegitimate children outside, but his wife didn't. When I told her, she refused to believe me. Not until 2 of Mr. Vance's mistresses showed up with their respective children did she finally accept the truth. Lucas's mother went home, while I went to the company before returning to the Vance estate. When I got back, Lucas was gone. He left a note saying he was going to pursue true love and had eloped with his secretary. Bodyguards were deployed, surveillance was checked, but Lucas couldn't be found. That was the final straw that broke his mother. Lucas's departure didn't affect my relationship with his mother. As the saying goes, relationships bound by mutual interest are the strongest. After Mr. Vance died, Vance Enterprises fell into chaos. The media speculated the accident was a conspiracy orchestrated by his widow. Stock prices plummeted, and shareholders demanded answers. Lucas's mother had no ability to manage the company and no experience handling public opinion. She just cried. I stayed by her side in the hospital, handling everything. Lucas's uncles, knowing he had run off, revealed their true colors, trying to seize the business on the grounds that their brother had no heir. The mistresses pushed their own children forward, urging the widow to acknowledge them to save the family legacy. Lucas's mother had been a cherished only child of a wealthy family. She brought her inheritance into the marriage, supported Mr. Vance through his obscure years, and invested in his startups. Her contribution to his success was undeniable, but she was soft-hearted and lacked assertiveness, so the company gradually became his. Just as she was about to compromise with one of the mistresses to stop the uncles from taking over, I stepped up. If the mistresses could fight for their children's interests, I could certainly fight for my own. Controlling the company meant controlling the profit. Mom! I sent everyone else away and sat beside her in her most helpless moment. Lucas is just gone, not dead. Why hand over the family business? I will help you guard it. I won't manage it any worse than anyone else. You hold the equity. Now that Dad is gone and Lucas won't take over, the company is yours. Give me a chance. I will help you keep a firm grip on it. You don't have a daughter. If Lucas doesn't come back, I'll be your daughter, okay? An ordinary worker bee won't pass up the chance to become the queen bee, or rather, a high-level executive. So, I volunteered. She eventually agreed. I acted as her proxy and began managing the company. The aggressive uncles? Handed over to the police for inciting unrest. The deceased Mr. Vance? Handed over to the crematorium. The siblings? Handed over to lawyers. Extortion, leave, or be sued. Today, Vance Enterprises is no longer the same company. It cannot function without me. As for Lucas, I could guarantee he wouldn't get a penny. I pulled a freshly printed divorce agreement from my bag and tossed it to Lucas. Sign it. The condition naturally was that he leave with nothing. But since Lucas didn't own any shares or assets anyway, the condition was essentially moot. I'll divorce you, sure, but who gave you permission to demand it? Lucas tore the agreement into pieces. Leo, seemingly realizing something, grabbed my hand. Sister, if he's your husband, does that mean I have to call him brother-in-law? Godmother handed a toy to her son. He isn't. He's just a stranger. Mom, what are you trying to do? Lucas looked dusty and disheveled. He used to be handsome, but you couldn't tell anymore. How can Dad be dead? He weathered so many storms. How could a car accident take him? Just then, the sound of a crying child drifted in from the courtyard. A woman in poor condition walked in, holding a child. Lucas, did your parents agree to let you back? The baby keeps crying. He wants you to hold him. I realized this was Lucas's little mistress, Chloe. Years ago, she was plain but had youth on her side. Now it was clear she had been living a hard life with Lucas. Lucas looked at the squirming child with disgust and shouted at Chloe. I told you, my parents don't like you. They get angry when they see you. Why did you come in? Chloe's face darkened, and she nearly started arguing with him. Godmother looked at the family of three with disdain. I suddenly remembered how Chloe used to provoke me, and I smiled. Wickedness has its own rewards. She and Lucas had finally turned their lives into a chaotic mess. Back then, Chloe was incredibly arrogant. I got together with Lucas at 18 and married him at 22. By the next year, he had changed. After the wedding, Chloe was the name constantly on his lips. Chloe didn't do actual work. She often took Lucas out to play, claiming she was showing him real life. For thrills, she'd take him to dine and dash, picking ordinary restaurants, then complaining the food was unsanitary to refuse payment. Later, she encouraged Lucas to skip work and miss morning meetings. Once, she sabotaged a contract signing by making discouraging remarks. When I held her accountable, the innocent and kind Chloe blinked her big eyes and smiled at me. I didn't mean to. I just wanted Lucas to experience failure. It wasn't a huge deal anyway. It's good practice. That way, if he loses a really big deal later, he'll be desensitized. It's exposure therapy. I planned to fire this workplace pest, but Lucas blocked me. I think Chloe makes sense. You learn from mistakes. Why can't you stand her? Are you afraid I'll be attracted to her vitality and realize how boring you are? One time, Chloe looked me in the eye, her gaze filled with malice and unwillingness. I didn't get angry. Instead, I walked over and greeted her warmly. Long time no see, Miss Homewrecker. Emily, Lucas interrupted my thoughts. Now that Chloe and I are like this, even if you were unhappy before, is this necessary? Don't you know how to be forgiving? Lucas's sense of entitlement was laughable. I didn't plan to say more. I placed a financial report in front of his mother. Godmother, this is the quarterly report. I'll be heading back now. Godmother smiled. All right, Emily, drive safely. I quickly left the estate. At the main gate, Lucas chased after me. Emily, tell me, what is going on? Whose children are those? I got into my car without answering. With modern technology, having 2 children via IVF is hardly difficult. As for who the father is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that their mother is the chairwoman of Vance Enterprises. That is enough. The weather the next day was gloomy. I left the office at 5, but the sky was already dark. Outside the main entrance, I saw a commotion. Security guards were restraining a woman with a crying child standing nearby. The woman was Chloe. Seeing me, Chloe went berserk. "Emily, where did you hide Lucas? You shameless witch!" "Let go of me!" Chloe shoved one of the guards, nearly knocking him over. She scooped up her illegitimate son and rushed at me. "I'm telling you, Lucas and I have a child. We are a family. You can never take him away." I let out a cold laugh. No one wants to steal a moron. Lucas was never a prize. "What is wrong with you?" The guard who had been shoved yelled angrily. "Why are you screaming at Ms. Emily? You didn't have an appointment, so the front desk asked you to wait in the lobby. That's standard procedure. Your son smashed the candy dishes and broke a vase in the lobby. We didn't call the cops or make you pay, which was generous enough. Now you're screaming outside? Are you crazy?" Chloe didn't get angry. She laughed. "Do you know who I am? You're just a hired hand, but I am the future boss's wife of Vance Enterprises. You dare treat me like this." "Stop, stop." The older security guard interrupted her. "I'm just staff. Removing troublemakers is my job. I have my own judgment, and I certainly know who my boss is." "Mr. Henderson," I said. "Ignore her. Isn't your shift over? You can go." "Yes, Ms. Emily. Don't go. You stand right there." Chloe grabbed Mr. Henderson. "Who do you think you are? The owner of this company only has one son, Lucas, and I am his wife. This is his only child. The company will eventually belong to my son. When that happens, you're fired." "Who are you firing?" Godmother stepped out of a car at the curb. Auntie, "Cousin Evelyn," Mr. Henderson called out. Chloe's face turned pale. "Sorry, Auntie, Don't call me that. I don't know people like you." Godmother entered the building, and I prepared to leave as usual. I stood by the road waiting for my driver. Chloe approached me, thick-skinned as ever. "Emily, why didn't you tell me who that guard was? Did you want to see me embarrass myself?" I felt a surge of annoyance. I had always detested people like Chloe, delusional and profoundly stupid, yet she insisted on pestering me. Ignoring her, I took out my phone. "Hello?" "Sister-in-law," a man's voice came through. "Remember me? It's Jason, Lucas's old buddy. Lucas is at my bar drinking. He can't pay and he's crashing here, messing up my business. Can you come get him? You haven't divorced yet, right? Please take him away." Hearing the voice, Chloe shrieked. "Why is Lucas there? Why did you call Emily? We are his family. Where are you? I'll come get him." "Who is this? Why would I call you? Do I know you? Are you that mistress?" Chloe's face grew even uglier. I knew Jason. He was indeed one of Lucas's friends from the wealthy circle. As a second son, he didn't join his family business, but took some capital to start his own. His Solace Pub was now a famous brand with branches nationwide. After Jason gave the address, I agreed and hung up. "I'm going too," Chloe announced. "Go ahead, take him wherever you want." "No, you have to come with me," Chloe yelled. "I want that guy on the phone to see who Lucas really goes home with." I slapped her hand away. "Did no one teach you not to touch people?" My phone rang again. Jason's number, but Lucas's voice. "Emily, why aren't you here yet? Did you forget? I'm at the Solace flagship store. We cut the ribbon at the opening together." "Stop playing the fool," I interrupted. "Yesterday you were threatening me. Don't tell me you're suddenly remembering my good points." Silence on the other end. I could hear his breathing. "Come here," he said finally. "I have something to ask you. If you come, I'll agree to the divorce." I eventually went to the pub. Chloe tried to enter with the child, but the boy struggled to get down. She cursed at him vulgarly, but let him go. The kid spotted a pet vendor on the street, grabbed a rabbit from a cage, and ran. When the owner chased him, the boy suddenly threw the rabbit onto the ground. "Here, take it back." He threw it hard. By the time the owner picked it up, the rabbit was dead. Chloe, cursing, paid the owner and dragged her son back. She smacked the back of his head. The boy lay on the ground, screaming and rolling around, shouting profanities. I looked at the scrawny child. He had inherited Chloe's looks and Lucas's sallow complexion. He wasn't just plain, he was unpleasant to look at. Chloe had undergone numerous surgeries to look marginally presentable. Her son stood no chance. Watching Chloe scream at the rolling child, I laughed. "What are you laughing at?" Chloe snapped. "I'm laughing at how this child has inherited his father's absurdity and his mother's rudeness. Truly a disastrous start." "Don't look down on me. You just feel superior seeing us like this. But the wheel turns. At least I have a son to care for me when I'm old. Unlike you, when you die, no one will care." I didn't bother arguing. You can't explain ice to a summer insect. I hoped she could still smile when she found out her husband was a nobody. When I entered the private booth, Lucas was slumped over the table. The illegitimate son ran to him, shouting, "Daddy!" He wiped his dirty hands on Lucas's clothes, quickly annoying him. "What are you doing? What's on your hands?" The boy started crying. Chloe looked embarrassed. "Lucas, he just loves you and trusts you. Do you have to be so—" "Shut up!" Lucas snapped. "Why aren't you at the hotel? Did you bring the kid here to embarrass me?" Chloe looked ready to cry. "We don't have money for the room anymore. You didn't answer your phone. What was I supposed to do?" I watched them fight. Poverty truly drains a marriage of any joy. They deserved it. Chloe took the child outside. I stood there looking at Lucas, paralyzed by alcohol. He looked up, the yellow light casting shadows on his face. "Emily, you knew I wasn't my mother's child, didn't you?" I looked at the defeated man. He finally knew. "Actually, it doesn't matter if you're her child. What's scarier is that you aren't even your father's child. You aren't even adopted." This was something Godmother told me later. Old Man Vance had a white moonlight, a first love. She returned from abroad years ago with a 1-month-old baby. Godmother hadn't conceived yet, and it caused friction. The first love came back because she was terminally ill and abandoned by the baby's father. She found her old admirer. The impact of a first love is powerful. Mr. Vance wanted to divorce Godmother immediately to marry her and raise the child. But before he could divorce, the woman died, leaving the baby. Mr. Vance gave up on the divorce and returned to the family. He brought the baby, Lucas, home, and told Godmother that if she raised him as her own, he would never leave her. Godmother, young and blindly in love, agreed to anything. So she raised Lucas as her own. I took a deep breath. "Lucas, you said on the phone that if I came, you'd agree to the divorce. Keep your word." "What can you give me?" Lucas looked calculating. I laughed. Lucas would get nothing. All assets were mine. I had the finance department pay me a salary of $1 a year. The subsidiaries, shops, and properties I owned were all under my cousin's name. Lucas and I had no marital assets to split. Even if there were, given his 5-year disappearance and cohabitation with a mistress, no judge would rule in his favor. For 5 years, I had run Vance Enterprises. Godmother had no interest or ability to do so. I was essentially her high-level manager. In return, I received capital, shares, and real estate, becoming the second-largest shareholder. I worked for the company, but I also worked for myself. The company provided the platform, the staff, the supply chain. I executed my vision. For a workaholic, it was paradise. Godmother was the patron who trusted me unconditionally. I was the racehorse that delivered results. We both got what we needed. I blocked her from making a foolish mistake years ago. That move saved her interests and created a shortcut for me. There are no eternal friends, only eternal interests. Cooperation for mutual win. No one loses. You can try. I have the best legal team. You won't get a cent. Lucas's face fell. "You can't do this. Emily, I have nothing now. Are you just going to dump me? You're so rich. You took so much from my family. A few drops of water from your cup would last me a lifetime. Why are you so heartless?" Tears welled in his eyes as he played the emotional card. I have nothing. I've been gone 5 years. Dad isn't dad. Mom isn't mom. You took everything I used to have. Why can't you help me? We were in love once. We met at 18. We've known each other so long. Even if we fought, even if I stopped loving you, you can't deny I was good to you once. I looked at him, wishing he had died out there. Lucas, how do you have the face to ask me for anything? Losing everything, isn't that your own doing? Seeing him pathetic and groveling gave me a sense of vindication. Lucas, have you forgotten how you treated me? I used to be starved for affection. I admitted it. If someone was slightly nice to me, I wanted to repay them tenfold. At 18, Lucas asked for my number on the first day of school, claiming love at first sight. I rejected him immediately. I wasn't casual about relationships. Living in the shadow of my parents' marriage, I hated letting people close. But Lucas was so nice. I was eventually won over. We were together from 18 to 22. I told him about my childhood trauma. At 7, my father brought a woman home. For her, he destroyed our family, angering my grandfather to death and causing my grandmother to fall ill. The woman brought a son 2 years younger than me and harassed my mother daily, begging her to give up my father. Once, when my mother was driving me to school, the woman followed us, cutting us off to force my mother to stop. In the chaos, our car hit a guardrail and flew off the road. In that moment, my mother turned the wheel to take the impact and threw herself over me to protect my head. I saw glass shatter over her. I saw the blood. Before we left, she had promised to make me waffles, but she never answered me again. I waited so long for rescue. I wasn't badly hurt, but a white sheet covered my mother's face. My father signed a waiver not to pursue the mistress's responsibility. On the day of my mother's funeral, he took his mistress abroad on vacation. I was an orphan in spirit. My uncle and aunt took me in. They were kind, treating me like their own daughter. My cousin shared everything with me. My aunt took me to therapy. My home was shattered, but they gave me a new one. Heaven has eyes. During their global tour, my father, his mistress, and their son died in a plane crash. None of them survived. When I heard the news, I didn't cry. I laughed. Karma spares no one. When I told Lucas this, he held me and swore he would never let me experience such pain again. He swore he would never let me down. I believed him. But he failed. He cheated with his secretary. He wanted a divorce, just a year into marriage. It was absurd. His father refused to allow it. So Lucas ran away with Chloe. The night before his father's accident, Lucas had apologized profusely. He said he was wrong. He wouldn't let me down. He would make it work. I believed him. I actually believed him. I loved him so humbly that I was willing to give him another chance. But the next day, he vanished. I realized his apology was just to pacify me while he stole my jewelry and bags to fund his escape. His father had cut off his cards. I was as stupid as his mother back then, trusting a man's repentance. After Mr. Vance died, I miscarried. It was a blessing. I didn't want a child with Lucas's blood. It would only remind me of his betrayal. I looked at the hideous man before me. Lucas, you called me cruel. From my perspective, you aren't nearly as generous as I am. Divorce isn't up to you. I'm notifying you, not asking. I'll drag this out until I die, he threatened. Try it. I didn't need his consent anymore. We had been separated for over 2 years. I could sue for divorce. As I turned to leave, Chloe rushed in, looking frantic. Lucas, what did you just say? You aren't your parents' biological son? That means you have nothing? Chloe started clawing at Lucas's face. Get off me. They began to brawl. Lucas shoved her away. Are you crazy? Chloe sat on the floor, screaming. You should have told me you weren't their son. If I had known, I never would have been with you. What do you have now? You can't even afford a hotel. How will you support me and our son? Why did a pauper like you mess with me? Finally speaking the truth? Lucas sneered. Did I seduce you? You threw yourself at me. Dog eat dog. I was satisfied. People like them, one chasing novelty, the other chasing money, were destined to implode. If they lived happily ever after, it would be an insult to my suffering. Lucas slapped Chloe. "Stop acting crazy!" She screamed, "I want a divorce. I want to leave you." Lucas laughed coldly. "Are you confused? We never married. What divorce? You were always the mistress, the third party. Remember now?" I walked to the door. Suddenly, a loud crash. Chloe had smashed a large vase over Lucas's head. He clutched his bleeding head and fell. I walked out and met Jason. "What happened?" "Nothing much. Lucas isn't dead. But the vase, that was an antique from an auction, wasn't it? Worth hundreds of thousands. Make them pay. One of them will have to go to jail for it." I pulled out my phone. "I'll call the police for you. Don't worry, demand full compensation. No one will bail them out. Lucas isn't the real son. No one cares. I filed for divorce. I could have done it 3 years ago. My lawyer told me that after 2 years of disappearance, I could apply to have him declared missing and sue for divorce. But the timing wasn't right then. As the second largest shareholder, my marital status was public. The uncles were aggressive, claiming Godmother and I were outsiders. My marriage certificate was a shield. As long as Lucas was technically alive and my husband, they couldn't legally oust us. My marriage was a tool for seizing power. Now, I didn't need the tool. I controlled the core business. The law was on my side. After the divorce was finalized, I received news of Lucas's death. After leaving the hospital, faced with the debt for the vase, Lucas and Chloe turned on each other. Fearing the other would flee, they watched each other like hawks. Desperate, they argued in the middle of the street about the money. Chloe, spotting an oncoming truck, shoved Lucas into its path. The truck braked but still pulled him under, causing a multi-car pileup. Lucas died. Chloe was charged with murder and liable for the massive damages. She went to prison. When told their son was sent to an orphanage, Godmother showed no emotion. That's where he belongs. Even if Lucas were my son and that boy my grandson, so what? I wouldn't care. She looked at Leo and Mia playing in the living room. I have my own children. Why would I care for a grandson with no blood relation to me? I didn't reply. Truthfully, Godmother raised her wine glass, I have to thank you, Emily. You taught me that you can only rely on yourself. And if not yourself, then a reliable business partner. Never pin your life on the illusion of romantic love. I nodded. Money heals wounds better than time. Love is too fickle. I raised my glass. To you, Godmother. This time we toasted to profit.